Hey guys, Evan here. I'm going to do a video on rebuilding an ls1 cylinder head. Someone in one of my previous videos, Mark David I believe is his username, he had asked about his 99 Trans Am he's going to rebuild, or he said that cylinder head he rebuilt in his car, and he was curious as to how exactly it was done. So I'm going to take one of my cylinder heads, one of my good ones, and valves, and I have seals and valve springs and everything. I'll show you how, and the tools and everything you need to do it. Obviously off car, I'm not going to be removing cylinder heads to do it off a car, but I already have a cylinder head sitting over there, so I'll get that cylinder head up and show you guys how to do it. Let me get everything set up and laid out, and then I'll show you guys. Alright, so I got everything set up. I got the, this is all extra stuff I have. These are some valves, and then these are just some your plain Jane LS from like 98 to I think 2001. Just some of the regular ls1 valve springs, the retainers, and the clips and everything. Cylinder, it's a 5.3 cylinder head. These valves are actually from a, if I measure, I can actually tell you really quick. This thing cost me 10 bucks, and it's accurate. So I just zero it out, put it on inches, and this will tell me right here if it's a ls1 valve or the 5.3 valve. And I want to say, and actually if I put it in the cylinder head, that'll tell me too, because I believe the ls1 valve is actually, the intake valve itself is bigger than the 5.3 valve. Now, if I put this valve in the cylinder head, which, let's check that. If I just shove this guy, yeah, this is a, actually, no, this is an ls1 valve. And the reason I can tell that is just because how it sets here on the edge. The 5.3 intake valves set more like flush, I believe. I'm not sure. These came out of a box of just a bunch of random LS valves, but that was the size of that valve, the edge itself. These exhaust valves I know for sure are a 5.3 valve just because the indentation, the indent on the valve, you see how it's concaved. I've got some new valve stem seals, or extra ones I guess. The things you'll need doing this when you get the head off the car and it's literally to the point where the valves are all on it, you'll just need lapping tools. You can get this stuff at AutoZone, valve grinding compound. Then your valve stem seals, because this is where oil leaks technically, is from the top of the cylinder head through the valve guide and then over top of the valve, and then it burns. And you'll need one of these, or a tool very similar to decompress the spring and then deassemble it. So what I'm going to do now is if you're just doing a budget, really, there's some things you can do to gain a little bit of horsepower, and then to make it pretty much stock. These are just some Q-tips. I would just get some carb cleaner or something, and you just run them down and clean them. But since this head is probably never going to be in service again, I'm just going to get all the dust and crap out of there really quick. But yeah, I'm going to get these all cleaned up and ready to assemble, and then I'll go through that process. Okay, so here we are. Got the head propped up with just a little section of 2x4. Like I said, all this stuff's extra. So all I'm going to do, actually what I should do, is I need to flip the head over and install the valve stem seals before I start putting the valves in. So, just flip it back over, like so. And these are the, I want to say, the brown ones here are the, God dang it, there it is. The brown ones are the exhaust, I believe. Browns are the exhaust, and the black ones are the intakes. So you lay them all out, And then what you do is, since I don't have the actual pressing tool for all this, all I do is I literally take this guy, set it down, and then you find a socket that sits right on the edge, just like that. So then what I'll do is, since this is the exhaust, I'll do that. I'll just kind of line them all up. And I'll get an extension on this guy, and then I'll hammer them on. Alright, so here's a quick tip really quick. When you're valve lapping these valves, so what you have going on when you're valve lapping is you have this tool, it's a suction cup on the end of it, right? You put some valve grinding compound on the valve seat right here, on the edge of the valve, and then you suction cup this guy to it, and then once it gets the suction cup, you can spin it, and you can spin it back and forth with your hands, almost like you're a caveman, you're trying to start a fire. But if you do not prepare the valve and clean the old grime and stuff off the top of it, then you won't be able to get it done as quick as you would be able to if you had it all cleaned off. Like, because the good lord, I can't even think of this thing it's called now. But yeah, the lapping tool won't stay suction cup, and it'll keep flopping off and everything. So yeah, but I'll get those cleaned up, and you just use a wire wheel or a wire brush. I use these things here. Just put them on the end of a drill bit, and then you just clean the crap out of them, and then once you're done cleaning them, you put them back in, and you can lap them. But yeah, I'll get those cleaned up, and then we can go from there. Alright, so since I figure doing every cylinder is the same, I'll just clean 2 valves, and then through those 2 valves I can show you how to do a cylinder head. I clean these 2 valves. You would think the exhaust would be harder to clean, but honestly the intake is, just because I don't know why, honestly. But it's cleaned up pretty well. The lapping tools stick to it pretty well. So now what you need to do is, before you start lapping the valves and whatnot, make sure you put some lube on the stem itself, so that when it's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you don't damage or score the stem at all, because that'll eventually, over time, once the engine's running, it'll destroy your valves. But yeah, so what you need to do is get some lube on and get that to stay. There we go. You put some lube on the valve stem itself, like that. Some assembly lube will do, just because it's heavier, and then you just make sure it gets covered. And if it gets covered all over it, then you're good. You wipe off what's on your hand. And honestly, wearing these gloves makes it 10 times easier. And honestly, it's probably nicer to actually see what's going on. Whoa. So this is the valve grinding compound. All you do is take it and you put you don't have to be sparing. Just need to put some on there. Now, if you want to, and you want, I don't know, if you don't want to do it yourself and you don't feel you can always take it to a shop and they can, clean these and make sure they all seal perfectly fine. So you can assemble it yourself still, but they'll make sure that they seal. Pretty much they recut the valves and whatnot. This is just an old school technique. But yeah, so there you have all your grinding compound. You take your valve, you then drop it into drop it in here. Now that it's dropped in there, you take your lapping tool and then you push down. When you push down, it should get a grip on it like that. Now, what's going to happen is when you start going back and forth, like so, you'll hear the sound change. I wish I had a phone holder or something, but yeah. So you're gonna keep doing that, and then what you do is you pick the valve up and you kind of tap it and turn it at the same time. That'll reset the grinding compound itself. So then every time you're done doing a single valve like that, what you'll do is you will literally you'll have to pull the valve out, and then you'll clean this stuff off. But since I'm not done with this one, I'll put it back in, and I'll do it some more, and then I'll come back. Alright, since I just got this one done, as you can see the, where in the world, there we go. You can see the discoloration, the darker gray. If it'll zoom in, there we go. You can see that line there. That is the grinding compound. That's the mark from the grinding compound. You can see over here, this one's all corroded and stuff just from time sitting in the garage. The same with the valve. The valve has got a nice and clean edge now. It more than likely seals perfectly fine. So when that valve spring is on there and it's holding that thing closed, it's not going to leak at all. I'm going to get the intake valve done, and then we'll go through putting the valve springs on. Alright, so once you have all the valve train components, such as the valves, you have them all valve lapped and everything to its specific runner, or like the exhaust valve. You have to label them. So when you clean the tops of the valves, mark one side of the cylinder head, and then mark, you know, one, and then, like, because you have an exhaust valve, or you have an intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way down. So then you know which side, because the one side of the head's marked, and you start one from there, and then you go down. So you know that that valve was lapped for that cylinder, so it matches that lapping on every combustion chamber. But it's a lot easier to do all the valve lapping to every single valve instead of going and doing one individually and lapping it and cleaning, because you can get dirt and grime just by doing that, especially if the head's been freshly cleaned from a machine shop or something, which is something I do recommend. If you tear apart your cylinder head, take it to a machine shop bare, and just have them clean it and check and see if it's flat. You can check it with a straight edge, and you can get an idea. If it's severe, you can really get an idea, especially if you're leaking or losing coolant or something, or you're getting coolant in your oil or whatever. But it's a lot easier to get all your components cleaned, valve lapped to every cylinder, and then you just go through, and the valve springs really don't matter. They can just go on any cylinder, really. So what you do is you just clean all your valves, valve lap into every cylinder, and then you just assemble it. What I'll do now is I'll get one of the valve springs assembled on there for you, show you how that works, and then yeah, you should be good to go. So here we go. Okay, so I got the tool adjusted and everything. I've got my retainers on. The retainer on. I have the clips sitting down here ready. All you do is you can press the valve, and then you set your little... God dang it, that happens so often. You might have to loosen it somewhat to get the retainer clips in. All you do is just like that. What you do is you just loosen it up. Once it's all loose, you can pull this thing off, set it aside, and then you have your valve installed on the cylinder head. Those little clips there are what hold the spring and everything in place. So yeah. And the thing is with the ls1 valves, the reason there was a sharp line on that is from the valve being too big. So it shrouds over top of the actual seat, and therefore you only get a line. Now if you wanted to use bigger valves and a smaller, like the 5.3 head, you would just have the valves cut down to fit the seat itself. But yeah, so that's a pretty general video. And pretty much you just repeat that same process with the spring over. Once you get the tool set, it's not too hard because it's just set, you know. And you just go through and you compress and put them all in. So once you get that all done, your head should be good to go. As long as you have all the prep work done right, and you have all the seals in, you have everything in there, you should be good to go. So I hope this helps. Any more questions or anything like that, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll try to make a video or something like that about it. But yeah, guys, so that's it for the ls1 cylinder head video. Later on, I can do another video about porting. At least, you know, smoothing out the runners and polishing the exhaust ports and stuff like that. I think one of the best benefits you could do is really just getting, if you go to Harbor Freight, you can buy these little packages of sanding rolls. It comes with the tool and everything for it. All you need is like a die grinder or a drill or something, and you just put those things on there. What you do is you go through and you use those, pretty much just the pure sanding, or you use them, you sand, you clean up, and you make sure it's nice and smooth, and you knock off all the rough casting and everything. And then what you do, and this is what I do anyways, I get some engine degreaser, but in the can, like the Mr. Green or the purple engine degreaser or whatever. You get that stuff, and what you do is just you spray that roll, man. So what you do, I'll show you really quick. So like here's the tool, at least the bit or whatever, and then you have your little sanding roll. So your sanding roll here, you screw it on there, and you would just use this first, just purely this. You go through and you smooth out the rough casting. Once you get it all nice and smooth, what you do is they have these ones in there that aren't short like this. They kind of like, it's almost like you're rolling up a sleeping, or like a, I don't know, man, I don't know how to put it. Rolling up like a piece of poster board. So you're trying to make a nice, clean roll. But if you were to take and grab the inside and pull it, you know, like does that weird spirally thing out? That's what the roll is like, the one they give, the other ones. So just use these ones just for the finishing and the smoothing of the ports. Use those ones to fan out, because what you'll do is you won't screw it on the way. You'll have one like this where it just has like just an end, but then you'll have another one that has like a long protruding just straight piece that supports that roll. Don't use that one. Use this one. Wear glasses. I'm not kidding. That stuff goes frickin' everywhere. Wear glasses and a pair of gloves. And I mean, maybe even a long sleeves, but that's up to you. But wear gloves for sure, and glasses. What you do is you put that, you know, longer one on the shorter one's tool, and then when you turn your tool on, that thing fans out. You know, so when it's in that port and it's fanning out, it's putting pressure on that roll by itself. And if it's wet and you keep spraying liquid in there, it like almost polishes it by itself. Now with the intake runners, you don't want to polish them. With those rolls doing that, that's fine. But if you take like a buffing, one of those small little buffing wheels or whatever, and you try polishing it up, it's just not going to benefit you in any way. It needs rough casting, so when the fuel is sprayed into that intake runner, it atomizes. So when it gets in that cylinder, man, it is fine and it is ready to implode. Now the exhaust chamber, that's totally different. Do the exact same thing as the exhaust runner, except for use the lighter grit and do the exact same thing, and then use a buffing wheel, and that's it. Get some of that compound stuff at Harbor Freight as well, and I mean, you can make it like chrome. It's ridiculous. But you can make some good power doing that. Another way is don't make the runners bigger. People have this theory that making these runners huge, which to a degree I understand. I mean, if you have like a 408 compared to, you know, like your factory 347 ls1, which that's what it is. ls1's a 347 cubic inch. So if you were to take that and just pour them out to where they were just huge, I mean, up on the top end you'll have more power, but lower end you won't necessarily gain anything. And you can use these things to support your throttle body as well. And you can do all kinds of stuff, man. There's all kinds of DIYs that you can do. I mean, you just gotta, I'll just put up a bunch of videos. You have questions, you let me know. I'll put up a video on it. I have no problem ruining something of mine to try to benefit the performance community, at least the budget side of it. Some of the stuff out there is ridiculous and freaking expensive, but yeah. So also, I got a set of truck manifolds for my car. I'm gonna be turbocharging my Camaro, and I bought a set of truck manifolds from a guy up north from my hometown for 25 bucks. These things usually go for like 120, 100 bucks. 25 bucks, man. The guy, it's really cool. The guy had a turbocharged 4.8 the ls1, the LR4, I think is what it's called, or the LM4, whatever it is. He had the 4.8 in this Ford Probe. It ran 1088. He has it on, it's on YouTube. If you type in like ls1 Turbo Ford Probe, or ls1 Turbo Probe, and it should come up. It says Cordova Dragway, and it'll show the car going 1088. The guy was freaking cool. He sold these to me. I cut the flange off because I'm going to be welding the V-band on. You guys, I've already told you like 3 times. I ordered my TIG welder, which I'm stupid. I'm really stoked about it. So once I get that, I'll get some parts and I can weld a V-band onto that. I'll probably start doing some welding videos as well. But yeah, so that's it for this video. I just figured I'd throw in a little extra at the end of this video to, I don't know, make it better. So I hope that helps. I can't remember your username, Mark David or whatever. I really do. I hope that this helped you. Also, if you, like I already said, if you have any questions about anything, I mean literally anything about a car, I mean even if I don't know it, I'll try to learn and help and you know, share at least my side or knowledge or stuff I've learned offline or anything like that, because a lot of my knowledge has come offline and then personal experience from working on it. You can learn a lot online. I mean, if you have a question about a car, you go online, you can type it on a forum, just in generic terms anyways, and you can find tons of stuff on it. But yeah, so that's it for this video. I think I've already said that like 5 times, but that's it. So I hope this helps and you can get your cylinder head put together and get it off. If you do it yourself and you want a gasket set, eBay man, Victor Wrens. It's seriously like a knockoff of Felpro, and they are no joke, they're perfect. And I used them on my Camaro, and actually it's funny, when I ls swapped my Firebird, when I had the motor out and I was rebuilding it and stuff, it's the same motor that's in my car actually, but when I had it all apart the very first time, I mean I torqued those head gaskets on maybe like 10 times. I kept tearing them off because I wanted to keep checking stuff, and I did. I tore that thing apart so many times, I don't even remember how many times I did it. But, and man, those gaskets were perfectly fine. I had them in that car ever since last winter when I tore it apart to put the newer style cylinder heads on. But, yeah, so the gasket set's like, I think it's like $200. You get a different set of head bolts, spend $200 on a gasket set, and the gasket set comes with the seals. You just buy some tools, and you can do it all yourself. You'll probably end up spending like $600 on the cylinder head job, and it's really easy. But yeah, so that's it. If you like the video, like and subscribe down below, and then let me know if you guys have any ideas, and I'll just talk to you later.